What's going on, everybody? It's Carmine from Barmine Tech, and today we're going to be talking about what's in my Homelab for 2025. So I know we're nearing the end of February, and 2025 has been going on for a little bit, but we worked on some other projects to start off the year, and I figured why not swing this in now. So we're going to go over what I'm running in my Homelab, my servers, my devices that I'm using, services that I'm running, and everything else. So we're going to go into that right now. So to start off, I do have a mini rack that I made a video on probably about a year and a half ago, and I reworked that to start off the year. So it had a lot of messy devices in there, like everything was kind of thrown in there. It wasn't cabled really nicely, and now it is. I reworked it. I threw in a little 10-inch patch panel, and I re-racked half my devices, and I'm working on getting 3D printed ears for the Mac Mini cluster that, remember, I made a video on too. Once I get ears for that printed up and designed out, I'm going to rack up my Mac Minis, and then everything's going to be in there. So it's going to be my mini backups, my mini lab, and then my 3 Mac Mini cluster. There's an 8-port switch in there, and then there's a patch panel in there, so I cable it up all nicely. I'll throw in a video at this point right now so you can just take a look, see what it looks like. Over here we have my start of my mini rack. So up here we have the Asus Store NAS. I did a video on this. If you're interested, I'll have a link down below, as well as my QNAP NAS that runs my Plex server, as I mentioned later in this video. I also have a video of how to set up Plex on the QNAP NAS if you're interested. And then over here we move over to my mini rack. It's still a little messy because of how I'm running cables to machines outside of the rack, but I'm going to clean that up eventually. But you can see over here I have a simple 8-port switch, and it ties into a patch panel. All the patch cables run behind the PCs and run back into it. Up top I have the mini lab server. The second one is, I think that's the Barmine Tech server, and the bottom one is my backup server. It might be reversed, I don't remember which one's which, but that's what I have right now. One of these is a Proxmox backup server, and then the other one is a Barmine Tech server. But this one's definitely my mini lab server, I know that. But that's my mini lab. It's just a simple 10-inch rack that I got from Canucku. It's available on Amazon if you're interested. It's a good size rack. I actually found out about this from Don over at Overseer Tech. He ran the same rack in his mini lab, and that's how I found out about this, and I got it. So if you're interested, I'll have a link down below to pick this up if you want. This again is my mini lab and my 2 NASs that I run. I think I'm going to make a video more detail on that in the future, because 10-inch mini racks are becoming super popular lately, so I want to revisit that project and cover it a little more in detail. So I do have everything, like I was saying, pretty much racked up in the 10-inch rack, other than the 2 NASs that I run. Now we're going to go through all the hardware and all the services now, so let's get right into that. So we're going to start off with the Barmine Tech cluster. This consists of the Barmine Tech server and my mini lab server. So there's really nothing running right now on the Barmine Tech server. Looks like I just have an Ubuntu VM that's set up currently. So the Barmine Tech server is more of my test server, and that's what I use to make my videos. So different projects will get running on this. This is really nothing too fancy. It's just a simple 4-core 8 GB machine. It has some hard drive space in there, and it runs Proxmox. That was the original PC that I got to start this channel off. It was about a $60 PC, I think, and that's how I used to start building out my videos on this channel. So shout out to this PC. If I move over to my mini lab, you can see that it's quite more populated than the Barmine Tech server. This was actually a PC that we talked about on the channel as well. This is when I moved over to the HP G4 Elite Desk 800. It has quite a bit more hardware in here. I filled it up with 32 gigs of RAM, and I think I could actually go up to 64 in this, which I want to try going forward. And I built this into my mini Proxmox server because it is small, it's lightweight, and it handles a ton of stuff. I mean, everything I've thrown at it, it works great with, and it doesn't use a lot of power, and that's what I really love. So just to go through some of the list of the services, I moved over my Vault Warden instance. I used to host it on a VPS, and I recently moved it over to a VM on my Homelab. I did a video on this too, talking about it. Now I've more integrated using VPNs to access it, to not have all my passwords in the public computer space. Other than that, I have Pi-hole, which we recently talked about. I upgraded to Pi-hole v6. I have my homepage VM, which if we come over here, I can just show you really quick. I made videos on this as well, and you can see that some of these are red for the API error because I never upgraded the API when I updated Pi-hole. The mini backups, unfortunately, never got the API to work, and I don't use Nextcloud anymore. But this is my homepage that we were able to build out over here. I had a video on this as well if you're interested. I'll have links to the majority of these videos because everything that I run in here I have a video tied back to, so I'll have links to everything. I run Tautuli as an LXC and moved it off of a Docker container recently because I kept having an issue where it kept kind of wiping out the config, so I moved it to an LXC to have a more consistent run on it. And this is just to kind of have records of what's running on my Plex so I can see what's being watched and who's watching what. It's just more for record keeping on my side. I have my speed, which we've made a video about as well, so I can pull my ISP to make sure that I'm actually getting the speeds that I'm paying for. This was a super easy project to set up, and it's super beneficial because I could see when my internet either drops out or if I'm not getting the speeds that I'm getting. And it's also really cool because since I have it sent to a Discord webhook, I can always tell if my ISP actually goes down, because if it can't pull the ISP to see the speeds are, it means it's down. So just another way that I have like a kind of outside knock to check my ISP. Over here we have Uptime Kuma, which is just a knock for my house. It has all my services in it, and I can kind of go through and see if something goes down, like if my router goes down, my access point, my file NAS, and I have all stats of how its network activity is looking. Uptime Kuma is definitely a useful project to have. I love it. Something I've been using for a couple of years, and it sends me Discord notifications, so if something does go down or up, I always know what happens. Nginx Proxy Manager was another one that we talked about on the channel. I made a video maybe a month ago about, and pretty much is how we can assign self-signed certs to all of this and have domains in our Homelab. So if you see over here, I have minilab.barmine.org, and that's all through Nginx Proxy Manager. And you can see over here that I have a secure site. I can do HTTPS without errors or warnings. We do that through Nginx Proxy Manager. I have a Caliber machine that's not really doing anything right now. I have Apache Guacamole, which we covered a few weeks ago. Again, is a remote management tool, so I can access my VMs, my servers, stuff like that. And I can just do it remotely without having to like RDP or VNCN. I have a second Pi-hole instance, which is also run in Pi-hole v6. I don't run them in a cluster or like an HA cluster yet. I'm looking into it. I'm seeing some people are finding more and more ways to do so. Right now I just run them as two individual nodes because my router does accept two separate DNS servers, so I kind of have it so we can load balance between the two of them as it needs. Cloudflared is how I tunnel out some of my services. So I did cover this probably about a month ago, I think it was, or 3 weeks ago. And it's just the LXC for how I tunnel out some of my services using Cloudflare tunnels. I have my Windows 11 machine, which I use every day. And then I have a Docker machine that doesn't run too much. We're going to cover when I'm running on Docker still and when I'm not. But as you can see, the majority of my services are in LXCs. I have a Kali box for when I have to do some pen testing or I do some practice for school or anything else. My Minecraft server runs on Crafty, and then I just have some other stuff that is miscellaneous that I'm not really using right now. But that's everything that's running currently in my mini lab. Now, like I said, I'm running over to the Mac Mini cluster, which this was the Mac Mini cluster that we used to kind of do the budget HA cluster. And now I'm actually using this for my senior capstone in school. So what I'm going to be doing is simulating a SD-WAN throughout the 3 nodes. So you can see I started building out OpenWRT boxes. And then they're going to be populated with like either Windows machines or Linux machines. And I'm going to simulate a SD-WAN between the 3 nodes to simulate 3 branches and so on. I thought about making videos for this, but I don't know if there'll be enough interest on this channel for this kind of project. I might record some of it and talk about it, but I might not. I'm not sure. But if you guys are interested, maybe I could see about putting up a video more towards the end showing what I did. Next, we have the Proxmox backup server. I love using Proxmox backup server. I swear by it all the time if you're on a Proxmox environment. And it's just because of the simplicity of making sure all your machines are saved and you can restore them if you ever need to. I won't say that Proxmox backup server is the easiest because it definitely does have a learning curve at first. But after you kind of figure that all out, you can really get it going. And you could use it to be really beneficial. So from my understanding, Proxmox uses blocking to save your backups. So you can kind of save all your machines and not use up, your full hard drive because it's not saving it fully like the disk image size. Because it's not saving it off the full disk size, it's blocking it as it goes. I don't know all the specifics of it, but I do know that I have a 2 terabyte hard drive and I'm able to have multiple backups before the drive fills up. I don't know, it just works. I've tried Veeam and I've tried the PBS to back up my Proxmox instances, and Proxmox backup server wins every time. Veeam just doesn't have the support yet for Proxmox that I'm looking for. However, Veeam is able to back up other stuff like physical machines and so on. So maybe at one day it will be able to, but that's that. So this is my Proxmox backup server. We've done a couple videos on this as well. Moving over to Docker, I don't really have much left running on here. On my local instance, I just have a Cloudflare DDNS. I have my old Nginx Proxy Manager, which is running. This currently still has all of my hosts in there because I've just been too lazy to migrate them over. And then I just have some old stuff that's just not running yet. And then like my WireGuard server. Over here, I just have my NAS, which is running my QNAP NAS. And over here I just have some other stuff that runs with my Plex server, nothing too crazy. And then this was old for my VPS that I was renting that ran Vault War, and I just never removed it yet. Now if I move over to my file NAS, this is actually the Asus Store NAS, which we did some videos on. So I think I've been using this NAS probably about 6 to 8 months now, and I have to say this is a awesome NAS. I just upgraded this to have some caching drives on it. So you can see I have my 2 regular hard drives, and then I threw in 2 more M.2 drives to get some caching when it goes out for my file server. I haven't really noticed a huge difference, but I do know that this NAS is awesome. It's quick. The drives I got must have been pretty decent because I did just buy used drives off eBay for this. So it's just 2 2TB drives that I run in a RAID because I don't want to lose this data. It is my file server. It does have a lot of important stuff on there, so I always want to keep that safe. But this is my Asus Store NAS. I do recommend it, especially for the price. It's a good price and it's really good hardware. Other than that, I have my QNAP NAS, which this runs my Plex server off of, and that other instance of Docker we were talking about. There's nothing really too crazy on here other than I have my Plex server running off of it. So this is also the network share for the majority of my Plex. I have 2 18TB hard drives. I believe they're 2 18TB hard drives, and then I have 2 500 gig NVMe drives or M.2 drives for caching. In total, I have about 26 terabytes of raw data that I can put on this NAS. It works really well and it runs my Plex server without an issue. I'm content with it as now. This actually was from Don over at Nova Spirit Tech. He gave this to me about a year or so ago because I was looking to get a NAS, and he was just like, here, have this one. So, you know, Don was an awesome guy, and that's how I got this QNAP NAS over here. I do like the NAS, but now I'm starting to outgrow, and I start to understand what Don would talk about when he said that QNAP's kind of mixed. This is an older NAS, so their newer ones might be different. I don't know. I haven't worked with QNAP NASs, and it's not directly in the budget yet to start buying ones to test out. So maybe one day QNAP wants to sponsor a video and I could work with some of their NASs. That's about everything that I'm running in my Homelab. I've made this video at least once in the past, so you can kind of see where things have changed. My Homelab has definitely grown and has changed a lot over the past year or so, so I want to make this video again to update what's going on. And I'm always hoping that I'm going to have new changes this year too, so I like to kind of go back and compare what I've had and what I've changed over the course of the year and what I've added to it. The Mac Mini cluster is a new project, and I definitely like having that because in the future it's going to be running most of my LXC containers. I kind of want to move all of those off of my main mini lab server and move those over to the Mac Mini cluster, and they could use their HA somehow to keep it all running and use the mini lab server more from VMs and stuff like that, and the Mac Mini for LXC containers. I need to finish this senior project first, so that's going to be the priority at the moment. But that's what I'm running my Homelab. That's what we're starting off 2025 with, and we're going to see what we end 2025 with. So hopefully we'll have a lot of projects this year. I want to thank you all for watching. As always, I'll have links to all the gear in my Homelab below if you're interested in checking any of it out. I'll have a link to the Discord server if you want to join up over there. I want to thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and as my buddy Don would say, hack till it hurts.